All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, obviously, yesterday was great news. The Jets extending Garrett Wilson on a 4-year, $130 million deal. Yes, of course, it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, what was the other option? Let him walk, trade him, lowball him? This was the best option, right? Because at this age, given what we've seen so far through Garrett's career, whether he's on the Jets or another team, he's going to put up great numbers. The deal is done, and the Jets have a wide receiver one for the next 6 years. Huge, big time, right? With the cap continuing to go up, this deal is just going to look smaller and smaller and smaller as the years go on. Not to say that it's a small contract by any means, but, you take a look at teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, teams like the Buffalo Bills, they get ahead of this stuff. Yeah, today it looks like a big contract, right? When the Bills, hand out these contracts, it's just like, whoa, Christian Benford or Josh Allen or, take your pick on any one of these guys that they decide to extend, like their own homegrown players. Again, when the news breaks, it looks big, but 1-2 years down the road, you're looking at the cap and you're saying, okay, hey, these guys are actually paid right at market value, or in some cases under market value, because these teams get ahead of it. And the reason why I mentioned Philly and Buffalo, I feel like those two teams handle it the best when it comes to this sort of situation. And speaking of that, when the news broke yesterday, Ian Rapoport put out something that was really, really encouraging as Jets fans here. He says the Jets were more proactive than they've been in years, locking up wide receiver Garrett Wilson to a huge contract extension. Now, of course, it's just one sentence, but in that sentence, for me at least, gives me a ton of confidence in Darren Mougey's ability to be proactive, to have a vision, and to actually have a plan. And look, credit Joe Douglas, because Joe Douglas is the reason why Garrett Wilson is here in the first place, top 10 pick, even though is I would say pretty obvious of a selection at the time, but regardless, Douglas did draft him. But there always seemed to be a question of, hey, when something bad happens, when the Jets face adversity, they're like late to the party. They don't adjust. Think when Aaron Rodgers went down, the team didn't even work out a quarterback for 3 weeks. If you're running a Madden franchise and your starting quarterback gets hurt, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, take your pick on whoever, you're down a quarterback in the depth chart, you're going to bring in someone, you're going to at least look at the free agent selections. It's just this reactive approach to almost everything. And in some situations, it felt very obvious to have a backup plan, and there just simply wasn't any. And then something would happen, and then the front office would be exposed. Like, oh, you know what? You actually don't have a plan here, or you don't have the cap space to go out and make a move happen, or the draft capital to go out and make a move happen, or it just felt very, again, late to the party and disappointing. So look, I'm not going to sit here and say Darren Mougey is, one of the best GMs in football or anything like that. He's not even been here for a season, but so far he's doing things that, quite frankly, I was extremely disappointed in last season, and really the past, since Joe Douglas took over, like the last 5-6 years here. So, really, really positive sign here, because it's not only just, oh, we got in front of the Garrett Wilson deal. It sets the standard. It lays the foundation moving forward for this team to make moves accordingly when things happen. Or if they don't, they already have a plan in place. And that can be in regards to waiver claims, trades, an injured player on the roster, free agents out there, taking care of your own homegrown players. By the way, Jamie and Sherwood re-signed on a 3-year deal. Again, a little expensive today, but that's just kind of what the going rate is, the market value for these guys. And the rumor right now is that Sauce Gardner is going to be the next man up here. Pretty obvious. We already knew this, but it's good to see that this stuff is circulating amongst the bigger, more mainstream reporters here, the Adam Schefters, the Ian Rapoports of the world. Now, I did want to bring up this as well from Josina Anderson. It's a quote from Garrett Wilson post-extension news, which I think is really, really important. And before we dive into it, if we reflect and think back to January, right, when the Jets were searching for their next head coach, there was a lot of debate oh, should the Jets go with an offensive guy? Should the Jets go with a veteran head coach? Should the Jets go with a young up and comer, a Ben Johnson style, like a boy genius type of head coach? And I think for me and a lot of Jets fans, we were set on hiring someone who A, wanted the job desperately, and B, had that mentality to turn around a not so good situation, a dysfunctional situation. In other words, hiring the best leader, hiring the best captain or chief for this team moving forward. And when Aaron Glenn got the job, I felt like he checked both of those boxes, right? He's been regarded as one of the best leaders of that Detroit Lions organization. Whether you want to listen to Dan Campbell talk about him or other coaches or other players so far, all the positivity coming out of the Jets building, and also externally too, like other reporters talking about Aaron Glenn, his impact on this Jets team, because we couldn't get someone. We didn't matter how successful the offense is, successful the defense is, whatever, successful that coach might have been before in the past. If they were going to come in and fold, come in and potentially waver to whatever, the pressure, the ownership, the New York media, take your pick on whatever, level of adversity that you want to bring up here. If the hire was someone who was going to be mentally shaken like that, that would have been a recipe for disaster, right? As much as I, respected what Saleh did in San Francisco, and it seemed like he was this, big rah-rah players coach, get these guys motivated type of guy, you could just tell the headlines, the media, the losses, the lack of adjustments, it got to him. By the end of it, it just felt like he was worn out. So look, anything could happen with Aaron Glenn. I'm not trying to predict the future here or anything like that. But in the end, a lot of Jets fans were focused in on Aaron Glenn becoming the guy after Vrabel got the job in New England because of the culture, the leadership abilities, right? To make something happen, to really flip the script on the rest of the NFL. And so how this all ties in here, let's look at Garrett Wilson's comment. So Josina says, here's what Jets star wide receiver Garrett Wilson briefly said to me on the phone this morning after agreeing on his well-deserved 4-year, $130 million extension on Monday. I'm excited as hell. This is just the beginning of something new. It gives me such a relief to be full go, clear-minded, and not have to worry about finances. You never want to have that weighing over your head. So I'm so thankful and blessed just to have this whole staff believe in me. Even after winning like 20 games since I've been here says a lot. So I just want to focus on my team, build chemistry, and play for something. You know that about me. Football is a big part of me. There's so much work to do. Nothing has been accomplished yet. So I'm telling you, my whole mindset is only on looking forward now, taking care of business and doing what I'm supposed to do with no distractions. That's all I want to do. That's what I'm on right now. And so to think back just a couple months ago, right? December, January, you're thinking about losing. You're thinking about just a mess of a situation that this team is in. You're thinking about Garrett Wilson being visibly frustrated and upset on the sidelines. Him and Aaron Rodgers taking subtle shots at each other in the media. You're listening to reporters talk about potential trade requests coming down the line. To sit here right now, again, just a couple months later, middle of the summer here, to look at this contract extension given out by Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn, to read this statement here given to Josina Anderson, man, what a turnaround. What a turnaround. The culture's changing here, and I'm really, really excited for it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.